we are getting closer and closer to the core of Excel, the formulas. And this is the last video that I'm going to cover, which will have three subtopics before we jump into the core formulas that will drive your success in Excel. So, this first subtopic is parameters in a formula. What is a parameter? Parameter is an input to a function or a formula, right? So there are different kinds of inputs that you can give in a function, right? And I'm going to cover all of them. There may be a few of them that I'm missing, but you will get to know them throughout the course, and you will be comfortable in understanding exactly what can be an input to a function, right? So it could be numbers, text, cell reference, column or a row, worksheet, Boolean, and so on, right? Let's look at examples of everyone. Okay, so numbers. So I'll start with some of the formulas that you have already seen, and I don't have to like explain a lot about these formula because in some or the other way, either you have seen it or they are so simple to understand, right? So sum of two numbers, right? Number one and number two, it's three, right? So this function can take two inputs, maybe more, but I can take these as directly inputs, right? So this is just an example of how numbers can be used as inputs, right? Text. So let's take length of my name, close, and it will give you 5. So notice for text we are using double quotes, right? Otherwise Excel will take them as variable names, which we will talk what the names are. But when it comes to numbers, we can use them directly. But when it comes to text or string, we have to use double quotes to signify that what we are using is actually a string, not a variable or a name to some other object within Excel, right? Cell reference. So you know that a cell is a intersection between a column and a row. So for example, if I select this cell, right, it is D5, right? Why D5? Because D is the column name and 5 is the row name, right? So this is a D5 cell. So I can take directly any cell, let's say equals to D4. So equals to D4, which has the value 5 in it. I'll just click enter and there you go, right? But let's use it in a formula. So let's say sum of D3 and D4, which will be 8, right? So you can directly use the cells as it is, right? A good thing with cell is you don't have to use double quotes when you're dealing with string, right? So for example, let's say length of this text, I can simply do it like this, right? So I don't have to use double quotes here, right? But you have to also remember when you're using cell reference, you don't have to actually use double quotes. Otherwise, it will consider that as text, right? So it's considering B5 as text, not cell reference. Okay. Column and a row. So I can take the entire column or entire row in a formula, right? So let's use it in sum. Within sum, you can have one number, two numbers, an entire range, entire sheet, entire column, or entire row, right? So let's take this entire column, okay, and enter. You will see 14 as the sum because it has only one number. But let's add numbers. So 14 plus 5 becomes 19, right? Don't get confused when you see random numbers written here and there, right? You have to focus only on the subject, only on what's being taught in the moment, right? I understand that sometimes it could be a little confusing but bear with me, you will get to know about everything within the exercises as well as the videos, right? Let's use a row. So let's say sum of this entire row, right? And there you go, right? How would you know that this is an entire row? 5 colon 5, and you can also see a preview of what is actually being summed, right? So 5 colon 5 basically means the fifth row to fifth row, which is the entire row, right? And you would notice that cell reference, which is a text, is also as is also an input to the formula, but some knows that I will only do the addition of numbers, not text, right? So those were your examples of column and row, right? Now, if I want, I can use a worksheet. So let's say sum, right? And let me go back to another sheet, and let's say I take this number, right, and press enter, right? So what is happening here is it can take sheet's name as well, right, within single quotes, and then exclamation mark symbol, and then it will take the column and the name or cell reference from a different sheet, right? We'll get to know more about the uh, how to get the data from different Excel sheets, from Excel sheets within the workbook, and so on. But this is just an example to show that we can actually go to a different sheet and in a different workbook for that matter. Okay, Boolean. So um, let's say I have again sum, right? Most popular formula, true, right? True is basically a Boolean, and what is a Boolean? Bool means two, um, a, and it means it is the language or mathematics of 0 and 1, right? Boolean is the language of computers, right? Machinery. So anything which is on or high is true. Anything which is off or low is false, right? So it has only two variables, true and false, right? And these can also be part of the input um, in a formula or a function, right? So let's say false. Its sum of true and false is 1. Why? Because true is in at the back end is always 1 and false is always true, right? So it is 1. Another formula. So I can have sum and then sum again, 1 comma 2, and then an entire range, right? So sum takes number 1, which is the output of this formula, sum 1 and 2, right, which is 3. And then I can get number 2, which is E5 to E6, which is 14 and 22, which is 39. Named ranges, we'll talk about the name ranges when we get to the topic, which will be in this video itself. So I'll park it for now. And tables. So let's say I have a column and then I have 1, 2, 3, right? And I take this and I convert that into a table. This is something that we have already done, but just to showcase, I can take this now, sum of table 1, which is this table, right? And I can take the column as the column, and that's it. 1 plus 2 plus 3, it's 6, right? So these are the different kinds of inputs that you can use in a formula.